Hey children, today, in the chapter of Devotional Paths to the Divine, we will see the devotion or love of God becoming the legacy of various kinds of bhakti and Sufi movements that have evolved since the 8th century. So, let's get started with the idea of Supreme God. Before the rise of large kingdoms, diverse groups worshipped various gods. With the growth of towns, trade, and empires, new ideas emerged. The concept of cycles of birth and rebirth based on deeds gained acceptance, as did the notion of inherent social inequality. Some turned to Buddha's or Jain teachings for overcoming social differences, while others sought deliverance through devotion to a supreme God, as promoted in the Bhagavad Gita, growing in popularity during the early Common Era. As societies evolved, the idea of supreme gods in the religious landscape emerged. Shiva, Vishnu, and Durga became supreme deities through elaborate rituals. Local gods and goddesses in different areas were identified with Shiva, Vishnu, or Durga. Local myths merged with Puranic stories, influencing worship methods. This synthesis of beliefs marked a significant evolution in the spiritual practices of the time. Puranas advocated divine grace for devotees irrespective of caste. Bhakti gained popularity, extending to Buddhists and Jainas who adopted these beliefs widely. This shift towards inclusivity in spiritual practices found further expression in the southern parts of India, where a new kind of bhakti movement began to take shape. During the 7th to 9th centuries, new religious movements led by Nayanas, devotees of Shiva, and Alvars, devotees of Vishnu, emerged. These saints, hailing from various castes, including untouchables, criticized Buddhists and Jainas. They advocated fervent devotion to Shiva or Vishnu as the path to salvation, drawing inspiration from Sangam literature's ideals of love and heroism. Their travels and compositions played a crucial role in the spread and institutionalization of bhakti traditions across the region. Nayanas and Alvars traveled extensively, composing beautiful poems praising local deities and setting them to music. In the 10th to 12th centuries, Chola and Pandya kings constructed elaborate temples around the shrines visited by these saint poets, solidifying the connection between the bhakti tradition and temple worship. During this period, their poems were compiled, and hagiographies, religious biographies, of Alvars and Nayanas were written. These texts serve as crucial sources for understanding and documenting the history of the bhakti tradition. While the bhakti movement flourished in the south, significant philosophical developments were taking place that would influence spiritual thought across India, in philosophy and bhakti. Shankara, born in the 8th century, championed Advaita, emphasizing the oneness of the individual soul, and formless, attributeless Brahman. He advocated renunciation and knowledge to attain salvation. Ramanuja, from the 11th century, influenced by the Alvars, advocated intense devotion to Vishnu. His Vishishtadvaita doctrine proposed qualified oneness, inspiring a new bhakti strand in North India. These philosophical underpinnings provided a rich soil for the growth of Basavana's Virashaivism. The Tamil Bhakti movement's association with temple worship prompted a reaction, notably seen in the Virshaiva movement initiated by Basavana and companions like Allama Prabhu and Akkamhadevi in 12th century Karnataka. The Virshaivas advocated for human equality, opposing Brahmanical caste ideas and mistreatment of women. Additionally, they rejected all forms of ritual and idol worship. This movement was part of a broader trend of religious reform that also saw the emergence of new groups such as Nathpanthis, Siddhas, and Yogis. Religious groups such as the Nathpanthis, Siddhacharas, and Yogis emerged during a particular period. These groups were known for their criticism of conventional rituals and the prevailing social order, using logical arguments to express their dissent. They emphasized the renunciation of the world and salvation through meditation on the formless ultimate reality. Additionally, they advocated for intense training of the mind and body, which included practicing yoga asanas, breathing exercises, and meditation techniques. Interestingly, these groups gained significant popularity among the low castes. Their critique of conventional religious practices played a crucial role in paving the way for the rise of devotional religion in northern India. This evolving spiritual landscape was further enriched by the influence of Sufism, which introduced new dimensions of Islam and Sufism. Sants and Sufis, despite their distinct cultural backgrounds, influenced each other. Sufis, as Muslim mystics, emphasized love, devotion to God, and compassion. Rejecting elaborate rituals and codes, they sought union with God, akin to the saint poets. Prominent Sufi figures like Ghazali, Rumi, and Sadi enriched Central Asian spirituality. From the 11th century, many Sufis from Central Asia settled in Hindustan, a trend reinforced by the Delhi Sultanate's establishment. The Chishti Silsila, led by influential figures like Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti and Khwaja Nizamuddin Aulia, gained prominence. Not only that, Sufi masters held assemblies in khanqahs, attracting devotees, including royalty and common people. These gatherings involved spiritual discussions, problem-solving, and music and dance sessions. Sufi masters, credited with miraculous poise, drew pilgrims of all faiths to their tombs or dargahs, making them popular places of solace and blessings. The Sufi tradition, with its emphasis on the love and devotion to God, found a receptive audience in India, leading to new religious developments in North India. In the post-13th century, a renewed bhakti movement swept North India, influenced by interactions among various religious traditions. As new towns and kingdoms emerged, figures like Kabir and Baba Guru Nanak rejected orthodox religions, while Tulsi Das and Sur Das aimed to make existing beliefs accessible. Tulsi Das envisioned God as Rama, composing the Ramcharitmanas, and Surdas expressed devotion to Krishna in works like Sursagara. So, this tradition featured saints like Dadu Dayal, Ravidas, and Mirabai. Mirabai, a Rajput princess in the 16th century, devoted herself to Krishna, composing bhajans that openly challenged upper caste norms. A unique aspect was that these saints' works, often transmitted orally, were in regional languages and Sag, becoming immensely popular among the masses. The songs, a blend of saints' creativity and generations' contributions, are now an integral part of our living popular culture. Among the voices for spiritual and social reform, let's learn about Kabir, who stands out as a particularly influential figure. Kabir, an influential saint from the 15th-16th centuries, grew up in a Muslim weaver family near Banaras. Though details about his life are limited, his teachings, found in verses called Sakhis and Pads, were sung by wandering bhajan singers and later compiled in works like Guru Granth Sahib. Kabir vehemently rejected major religious traditions, ridiculing external worship in both Brahmanical Hinduism and Islam, along with the authority of priestly classes and the caste system. His poetry, expressed in spoken Hindi, resonated with ordinary people, though it occasionally featured cryptic language. Kabir believed in a formless supreme God and advocated salvation through bhakti or devotion, attracting followers from both Hindu and Muslim communities. Let's move on and take a closer look at Baba Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak, born in Talwandi, Nankana Sahib, Pakistan, established a center at Kartarpur, Dera Baba Nanak, where followers, regardless of creed or caste, ate together in a common kitchen, langar. He appointed Lehna, later known as Guru Angad, as his successor. Guru Angad compiled Guru Nanak's compositions and added his own in the Gurmukhi script. Their works, along with those of subsequent successors, were compiled by Guru Arjan in 1604, forming the Guru Granth Sahib, the holy scripture of the Sikhs, authenticated by Guru Gobind Singh in 1706. Guru Nanak's followers grew in the 16th century, emphasizing productive occupations and community contributions. By the early 17th century, Amritsar became a self-governing Sikh community. The movement politicized, leading to Guru Arjan's execution in 1606. Guru Gobind Singh instituted the Khalsa in 1699, transforming Sikhs into a political entity, the Khalsa Panth. We hope that you have understood the topic. You can now study chapter notes, watch video lectures, and solve MCQ tests of this chapter on EduRef to ensure you score well in your school exams. And that's not all, you also get amazing courses for maths, science, English, Hindi, and much more for class 7. Thank you.